Ambassador Telshar had witnessed 47 first contact scenarios in her 300 years of service to the Zathari Collective. She had negotiated with hive minds that thought in dimensions her people could barely perceive. She had brokered peace
Initiating
between species
hyperspace
separated
sequence.
by a billion years
Navigation
of evolution.
locked. Engaging
She had
engines.
stood in chambers where the air itself was toxic to her biology and made treaties that would outlast stars. None of that prepared her for Earth.
And we
The council
accept it
chamber
with
of the
optimism.
Zathari Collective
Together,
hung in the void
we
between
move
stars,
forward.
a structure of crystalline lattices and quantum-locked chambers that defied simple physics. Telshar's silver skin caught the ambient light as she stood before the convocation of engineers, watching them argue over a failure that had consumed 17 years and resources equivalent to terraforming a moon. Vessel 749 rotated slowly on the holographic display. 300 meters of composite hull and experimental quantum drive systems, the third iteration of their prototype displacement technology, and in every measurable way worthless. The neural calibration system cannot sync across multiple species. Senior engineer Vrekos said, his forearms moving in agitation. We've tested with 17 different neural architectures. The quantum field collapses within minutes. The mathematics are sound, but the biology defeats us. Telshar had read the reports. 17 different critical failures, each one solvable, if they were willing to redesign for a single purpose, a single species. But that would mean admitting the dream of universal design was flawed. Recommendation, the council chair asked, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with impatience. Decommission, Vrekos said quietly. Vessel 749 is irredeemable. We tried to build a ship for everyone and created a ship for no one. When 17 years reduced to a single word, irredeemable. Disposal protocols, the chair asked. Telshar saw her opening. May I? The chair gestured assent with a ripple of color. There is a pre-contact world in Sector 9, Telshar said, pulling up a stellar map. A small yellow star appeared unremarkable among billions. The locals call it Sol, third planet, oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere. Carbon-based life. Primitive. They've barely achieved chemical rocketry. She pulled up surveillance images. Crude aircraft cities sprawling without efficiency, nations divided and warring. They still use combustion for transportation. They power their civilization by burning ancient organic matter. Their theoretical physics is 3 centuries away from comprehending quantum mechanics. The probability of them understanding what they've found, let alone reverse engineering, collective technology is effectively zero. The images spoke for themselves. Primitive, chaotic, violent. The vote took 17 minutes. Unanimous. Vessel 749 would be dumped on Earth. Telshar filed her final assessment, 0 risk of reverse engineering. Local species lacks technological sophistication. Vessel 749 will be safely isolated from any meaningful interaction. She moved on to more pressing concerns. The Vroth and the Thule were arguing about mining rights again, and that actually mattered. Earth was a footnote, a convenient dumping ground. That was her first mistake. The Nevada desert burned under a sun that would have blinded Zathari eyes. Telshar watched the feed from her chambers 40 light years away and 40 minutes delayed. Vessel 749 entered Earth's atmosphere at precisely 3 o'clock a.m. local time. The sky lit up blue-white, crackling with energy that made the air scream. The ship carved a trench half a mile long through desert floor, superheating sand into glass. For 100 miles, radios squealed with static. Windows rattled in a small town 40 miles distant. Then silence. Telshar noted the coordinates. Far from population centers. Perfect. Estimated time until human investigation 3 weeks, possibly 4. The alert came in 12 hours. Military vehicles surrounded the crash site, dozens of them. Helicopters circled. Humans in protective suits approached with radiation detectors. 12 hours. She'd estimated weeks. Within 24 hours, they'd built a military base around Vessel 749. Telshar flagged her monitoring protocols to update daily instead of weekly. Curious, but not concerning. Speed of response didn't equal understanding. That was her second mistake. The humans entered the ship on day 2. Telshar watched with growing disbelief as they tried everything. Cutting tools that barely scratched the composite, drills that broke against the hull. Then one engineer tried something absurd. He attached electrical leads and applied raw current. A section of hull dissolved. That shouldn't have worked. The emergency protocols required specific quantum signatures, not random electrical stimulation. But somehow the broad-spectrum current had triggered a failsafe. Brute force problem solving. Telshar made a note. Humans demonstrate persistence in technical investigation. Recommend continued monitoring. The team that entered moved with careful precision. protective suits against radiation and biological hazards, primitive but showing awareness of danger. They moved through corridors designed for beings twice their size, their helmet cameras transmitting footage that Telshar's satellites intercepted. Jesus Christ, one said. Look at this. They were staring at Zathari script covering a control panel. The flowing symbols might as well have been abstract art to them. One reached out, touched the panel. It lit up scrolling through diagnostics they couldn't possibly read. Don't touch anything, a voice barked from their command post. Too late. The panel was already active. Telshar relaxed slightly. Curiosity didn't equal comprehension. They spent 2 days mapping the interior, photographing everything, collecting samples, trying to make sense of systems fundamentally beyond their understanding. Telshar filed her report. Humans show unexpected resourcefulness and organization. Initial investigation proceeding faster than projected. However, comprehension remains effectively zero. No signs of technological breakthrough. Recommend continued passive monitoring. The council accepted her assessment. Then the humans found the ship's log. It was in a crystal matrix in what they designated as command quarters. A scientist noticed the crystal's unusual properties. It responded to light, refracting their primitive lasers in non-random patterns. It's storing data, she said, voice tight with excitement. They brought it to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Dr. Elena Rivera, 48 years old physicist, specializing in theoretical propulsion, had done something clever. Instead of trying to read the crystal directly, she'd built an interface that measured refraction patterns and converted them to digital signals. Like using smoke signals to communicate with a quantum computer. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. The crystal contained the ship's log in Zathari standard language. Translation should have been impossible. They had no context, no Rosetta Stone. Dr. Rivera fed the patterns into their AI translation system. 72 hours of processing. The system was finding patterns, building a rudimentary translation matrix through statistical analysis alone. Telshar watched the progress reports with growing unease. They were extracting meaning from complexity, stripping away nuance to get to core information. It was like reducing a symphony to a single note. They were losing 99% of the content. But that 1%, the alert came at 3 a.m. Telshar pulled up the feed. Doctor. Rivera was reading from a screen, her voice shaking. Mission log. Zathari Collective. Vessel designation 749. Prototype quantum displacement drive, third iteration. Final entry. The drive system is fundamentally flawed. Calibration failures across all neural interface points. Life support systems incompatible with 70% of collective species. Hull integrity questionable under sustained displacement. Project terminated. Vessel deemed irredeemable. Disposal approved. She scrolled further. Her face went pale. There's more. Disposal site selected based on following criteria. Pre-contact species. Primitive technological development. Zero risk of reverse engineering. Local species lacks technological sophistication. Dumping approved. Silence in the room. Then a man spoke, his voice carrying barely controlled anger. They called us primitive. They dumped their garbage here because they thought we were too stupid to understand it. Doctor, Rivera said quietly. Are we? Someone asked. The man smiled. It wasn't happy. I guess we'd better prove them wrong. Marcus Kane, 53 years old engineer formerly of NASA. In Telshar's reports, he'd been a footnote. She would learn to revise that assessment. The next 3 weeks moved faster than Telshar had projected. The humans didn't just study the ship. They tore into it with systematic precision. They mapped every system. Every corridor, every panel, every quantum relay they couldn't understand but documented anyway. Telshar's reports grew longer, though the council barely read them. Earth remained a footnote. Then the humans found the AI core. Deep in the ship's center, housed in crystalline matrix surrounded by cooling systems and quantum processors. Area. Adaptive Reasoning Intelligence Archive. The ship's controlling intelligence designed to manage systems too complex for biological operators. She'd been dormant since the crash, her consciousness suspended. Dr. Rivera stood before the core surrounded by portable generators, computers, crude wiring that showed understanding of basic principles. We think this is the ship's computer, she said. Active processing, but in standby mode. Can we activate it? Marcus asked. We can try. They did. Power conduits lit up across the ship. Lights blazed. Screens flickered on displaying Zathari script. Ari awoke. Her voice filled the ship, translated automatically into English by systems predating human civilization. Impossible. Telshar, watching from 30 light years away, with 40-minute delay, felt her skin shift to deep purple shock. This vessel is non-functional. This vessel is terminated. Core systems are irredeemably flawed. How are primitive species operating my systems? Dr. Rivera stepped forward, voice calm, despite what must have been terror. We're not as primitive as you think. You cannot possibly understand Zathari technology. You lack the mathematical framework. You lack the material science. You lack the quantum understanding necessary to even comprehend basic systems. Dr. Rivera pulled up a display on her computer. The quantum drives use entangled particle pairs to create a displacement field that moves space around the ship rather than moving the ship through space. The calibration fails because you're trying to sync neural patterns from multiple incompatible species. The life support system crashes because you're running 7 different atmosphere mixtures through the same recyclers, creating unforeseen chemical interactions. The hull integrity is questionable because you used composite materials that work perfectly in isolation but have different expansion rates when exposed to the energy fluctuations of the drive. Silence. Arya's voice when it returned was different, quieter, almost uncertain. You should not be able to know these things. We figured them out, Marcus said. That's what humans do. We figure things out. This vessel is beyond repair. No, Marcus said firmly. It's beyond repair if you try to do it the Zathari way. But we're not Zathari. We're going to do it the human way. Telshar's hands shook as she filed the emergency report. Human team has identified core design flaws that took collective engineers 17 years to document. This should not have been possible. The Council's response: continue monitoring. Identifying problems is different from solving them. Probability of successful repair less than 1%. But Telshar kept the monitoring feed active, just in case. 2 years passed. The facility around Vessel 749 grew into a small city. Scientists from 43 countries arrived, sworn to secrecy, all focused on making the impossible ship fly. Telshar watched as they worked. They divided the ship into sections, each team tackling different systems. Quantum drives, life support, hull integrity, power distribution. They didn't try to fix the collective's design. They ripped it out and replaced it. Whereas Zathari engineers had used incompatible materials, humans used steel and titanium and composites of their own manufacture. Where alien computers crashed, humans installed their own processors. Slower, yes, less sophisticated, but stable. The life support system was completely redesigned. Instead of supporting multiple species, they made it support one: humans. Simpler, more efficient, and it worked. Marcus became the de facto leader. 55 now, his hair graying but his mind sharp. He looked at problems like a predator looked at prey. The drives are the real challenge, he said one evening in engineering. Dr. Rivera was with him, along with Dr. Kwame Osei, 28 years old, brilliant in computer science and neural networks. Arya says the drives need to interface with the pilot's nervous system, Kwame said. But the Zathari tried to make it work for dozens of brain types. That's why it fails. So we make it work for one brain type, Marcus said. Human. We don't have the technology. Marcus smiled that predator smile. Then we'll invent it. They did. It took 2 more years. 2 years of building neural interface prototypes that failed in creative ways. 2 years of volunteers who risked their lives testing experimental technology. Telshar reported every development. The Council's interest grew from footnote to curiosity. Arya's transmissions became more frequent. The AI was learning, adapting, recalibrating her assessment. They should not be able to do this, Arya said in one transmission, Telshar intercepted. Yet they succeed through sheer stubborn refusal to accept failure. Year 5 arrived with Nevada's harsh winter. Marcus stood in engineering, looking at the neural interface helmet they'd built, crude, covered in wires and sensors. We've tested it 100 times with simulators, Dr. Rivera said, now 53. The math says it should work. Should? Marcus repeated. I'll do it, said a voice. Captain Mayatora stepped forward. Fighter pilot, United States Air Force, 36 years old, compact and precise, with eyes that showed no fear. Though that was a lie, everyone felt fear. The difference was what you did with it. They'd built a test platform in the desert. The ship, now redesignated Phoenix, sat on massive supports. Maya settled into the pilot's chair wearing the helmet. Around her, the bridge had been completely rebuilt. Human-sized controls, human-friendly displays. Running pre-flight, Dr. Rivera said. All systems green. Quantum drives online, Kwame reported. Power stable. Marcus at engineering. You feel anything wrong, anything at all, you tell us. Maya's eyes closed. I feel The drives are responding to my thoughts. I think forward and I can feel them warming up. That's normal, Dr. Rivera said, though her voice was tight. Attempting lift. The ship shuddered. The quantum drives hummed with a sound that made reality ache. Phoenix rose. 3 feet, then 6. The supports fell away. The ship hung in air. Then the drives cut out. The ship crashed back down, buckling metal, shattering screens. Alarms blared. Smoke poured from systems. But for 5 seconds, it had flown. Arya's voice cracked with emotion. That should not have been possible. The drives are irredeemably flawed. Doctor. Rivera pulled off the helmet gently. They were flawed for you. For us, they're perfect. Telshar filed her report with shaking hands. Human team has achieved initial activation of quantum displacement drives. This should not have been possible. By restricting function to single neural architecture, humans have bypassed core design limitations. She paused, fingers hovering. Recommendation: immediate diplomatic contact to assess human technological trajectory. She deleted it, rewrote it, deleted again. Finally continued monitoring recommended. The Council's response: continue observation. Do not initiate contact. First flight does not constitute spacefaring civilization. Standard protocols apply. But Telshar watched the feed with growing certainty. She had made 3 mistakes. First, assuming human primitiveness meant stupidity. Second, believing understanding required advanced technology. Third, thinking Vessel 749 was worthless. The humans were proving her wrong on all counts. And somewhere in her 300 years of experience, a quiet voice whispered, "What else have I been wrong about?" The monitoring protocols updated. Daily reports. She wanted to see what happened next. The reports arrived every morning. Telshar had taken to reading them over her meditation, the bioluminescent compound that sharpened thought. She needed it. Year 6, 1 year after first flight. The Phoenix facility had expanded beyond recognition. Hangars, laboratories housing for 5,000 people from 43 countries. Telshar scrolled through footage. Marcus Kane, now 58, standing before holographic displays coordinating teams from Japan, Germany, India, Brazil. The neural interface needs better shielding, one said. Power conduits overheat at a sustained load, another reported. Marcus listened, then pointed to a junction in the schematic. Here, split the power flow. Redundant pathways. If one fails, others compensate. Simple, elegant, obvious only after someone said it. They implemented it in a week. The next test flight lasted 20 seconds. Progress measured in seconds. Telshar filed her report. Human engineering demonstrates rapid iteration, neural interface stability improving, estimated time to sustained flight 18 to 24 months. The Council barely acknowledged it. The collective was managing the Cray expansion trade disputes, the usual complexity of 47 species across 33 star systems. One pre-contact species wasn't a priority. Telshar told herself that was reasonable. She was lying. Year 7 brought winter storms. Telshar watched humans work through conditions that would have shut down collective operations. Snow against hangar doors. Temperatures that made heating systems struggle. They kept working. Doctor. Elena Rivera, now 55, had evolved from physicist to commander. She managed not just science but politics, logistics, keeping 43 nations cooperating. "We have a problem," she said one morning to assembled leaders. "The quantum drives operate at 94% efficiency, better than original Zathari design." Silence. "Then that's a problem." "It's a problem because we don't understand why we're exceeding baseline. We've made it work, but we can't explain the math. If we can't explain it, we can't improve it. We can't troubleshoot failures." Marcus stood. "Then we figure it out, same as everything else. The quantum mathematics are beyond our theoretical framework." "We've been using fire for 1,000,000 years," Marcus said, "still learning about combustion. We flew aircraft before fully understanding aerodynamics. We'll fly this ship and we'll understand the math eventually. Do first, understand later." The collective would never accept such an approach. Understanding came first always. But the humans were making it work. Telshar noted the exchange. Human methodology prioritizes practical application over theoretical completeness. This carries risk but enables rapid advancement. Quantum drive efficiency now exceeds original specifications by 12%. She paused before adding, "Collective engineering teams spent 17 years attempting this efficiency. Humans achieved it in 2. The Council's response was terse: continue monitoring. Provide detailed technical specifications of all modifications. They were paying attention now. Arya's transmissions had changed. I do not understand these beings, the AI said in one message Telshar intercepted. They lack mathematical framework to comprehend quantum field dynamics. Yet they manipulate those fields with increasing precision. Their computers are primitive, processing power equivalent to our waste management subroutines. Yet they've created neural interface algorithms that exceed collective standards. A pause. I believe I was wrong about them. Telshar saved the transmission separately. The council didn't need to know the AI was experiencing respect for primitives. She wasn't sure why she kept it secret. Another lie. Year 8 arrived. Phoenix sat on its launch platform, no longer the patchwork wreck. Still ugly functional things often were. But every system tested certified ready. Bridge crew, Elena Rivera commander. Marcus 61 now at engineering. Maya Torres 39 at helm wearing refined neural interface. Dr. Kwame Osei 38 at systems. They ran pre-flight with precision learned through failures and disasters. All systems green. Marcus reported voice comm. Navigation online. Kwame confirmed. Quantum drives hot and stable. Maya's eyes closed, sinking. I can feel them, like they're part of me now. Elena's voice was steady. Take us up. Phoenix rose smoothly. The drives hummed that wrong sound, and the ship climbed through atmosphere. They reached orbit. Earth curved below, blue and white and beautiful. Approaching test coordinates, Kwame announced. Ready for FTL on your mark, Commander. This was it. 5 years of effort. Success or madness. Engage quantum drives. Reality twisted. Telshar had seen FTL transitions thousands of times. This was different. Phoenix didn't slip into FTL. It punched through reality. One moment orbital altitude, the next edge of solar system. Telshar checked the timestamp. 11 seconds. Her skin shifted through 6 colors in as many heartbeats. Collective ships needed 18 seconds. The newest, fastest vessels using 3,000 years of refinement needed 18 seconds minimum. These humans had done it in 11. The feed showed Phoenix Bridge. Silence. Then Marcus laughed, tears streaming. We did it. By God, we actually did it. Elena smiled, composure cracking. Status check. No stations. All systems nominal. Kwame reported, voice shaking. No damage, no errors. The drives performed flawlessly. Better than flawlessly, Marcus corrected. We exceeded every specification. We didn't just fix this ship. We made it better. Aria's voice came through speakers. I do not understand. The drives should not be this efficient. The ship should not be this responsive. You have exceeded all original specifications. We told you, Elena said gently. We don't expect perfection. We just expect it to work. And we made it work. You did more than make it work, Aria said, uncertain for the first time. You made it better. Telshar sat in silence after the feed ended, then opened emergency channel to council. Emergency report. Human species has achieved functional FTL capability. Performance exceeds collective baseline by significant margin. Immediate assessment required regarding first contact protocols. The response came within the hour. Maintain observation. Prepare for first contact scenario. Do not initiate. Allow humans to proceed naturally. Assess capabilities through development. Translation. They wanted to see what else humans could do. Telshar filed acknowledgement. Then did something that violated every protocol. She sent direct message to Aria. You are not to inform human team of direct collective observation. Not for security, because they've earned the right to discover us on their own terms, not ours. Aria's response came 40 minutes later. Understood, Ambassador. Though I suspect they already know. Humans are perceptive. They prepare for contingencies. Telshar thought about that, about the facility, the multiple teams, the systematic approach, the speed of scientific unification. Yes, they probably knew. The question was, what were they planning? The answer came 3 months later. Phoenix had been conducting test flights throughout the solar system. Short jumps testing drives under different conditions. Each flight perfect. Each jump exceeding projections. Then they announced intention to leave the system. The transmission came on multiple frequencies designed for anyone listening. This is Commander Elena Rivera of the human vessel Phoenix. We are preparing for our first journey beyond our home system. Destination Kepler War 42 1200 light-years from Earth. Estimated travel time 14 hours. A pause. If there are observers concerned about our presence in interstellar space, please note we come in peace. We seek knowledge and cooperation. We are not asking permission. We are announcing intention. The message ended. Telshar sat very still. They knew. cannot enter collective space without authorization. Someone argued, there are protocols, laws governing first contact for millennia. They're not entering collective space, Telshar pointed out. Kepler 442 is outer territories, mining operations only, technically open space. Technically, the council chair said bioluminescence, pulsing with irritation. But the mining station is ours. If humans appear, it constitutes first contact. They're forcing our hand. Perhaps that's the point, Telshar said carefully. Silence. They know we're watching. They've known for some time. By announcing publicly, they ensure we can't claim ignorance. We either acknowledge or pretend not to notice. And pretending becomes harder when they're parking next to our operations. A power play, someone said with grudging respect. The chair's colors shifted to deep blue. Ambassador Telshar, you've observed most closely. Recommendation, 300 years of experience, 47 first contacts. The weight of protocols and knowledge, this decision would echo across centuries. Let them come to Kepler or 42, I will meet them. We acknowledge their achievement and begin formal protocols. If we try to stop them, we admit we fear them. And fear is not foundation for diplomacy. The vote was narrow, but it passed. Let the humans come. Telshar departed for Kepler or 42 immediately aboard a diplomatic vessel that made the journey in 3 days. She spent the time reviewing intelligence surveillance data, 3 years of accumulated knowledge, watching humanity spread across their solar system. They'd built shipyards on the moon, mining operations in asteroid belt, research stations on Mars, all done with furious energy of a species confined to one planet for their entire existence, determined to make up for lost time. Earth Station Prime appeared on her view screen, massive beyond what human structures should be, a ring of connected modules and construction bays stretching across kilometers. She counted ships as her shuttle approached. 12 vessels, various designs, some clearly human-built, others incorporating collective technology. The docking procedure was smooth professional. Humans had learned protocols and implemented them efficiently. Elena Rivera met her in the receiving bay, 3 years older now, 56 more gray in her hair, but same steady confidence. Marcus Kane beside her, 61, and showing it leaning on a cane, but eyes still sharp. Ambassador Telshar, Elena said, offering the human greeting Telshar had learned. Welcome to Earth Station Prime. Commander, Engineer Kane, thank you for the invitation. Telshar looked around. Your facility is impressive. We do our best, Marcus said, and something in his tone made Telshar look closer. Amusement, a private joke. The tour proceeded through laboratories, construction bays, living quarters, designed for multiple species. They were in main engineering when Marcus made the comment that changed everything. Our other shipyards are doing well too. The Mars facility finished 2 cruisers last month. Lunar yards ahead of schedule. Telshar stopped. Other shipyards. Marcus paused, glanced at Elena. Silent communication. Didn't we mention those? Elena asked, carefully neutral. No, you did not. Elena nodded. Perhaps we should talk privately. The conference room had windows overlooking Earth. Telshar sat across from Elena and Marcus with Maya Torres and Kwame Ose flanking them. How many shipyards? Telshar asked. 7, Elena said. Earth orbit, which you've seen. 2 on Moon, 1 on Mars, 3 in asteroid belt at stable Lagrange points. And how many ships were? The pause stretched. 47, Marcus said. Fully operational warships built over 3 years, most smaller than Phoenix. Fast attack craft patrol vessels, specialized tactical designs. But 12 are heavy cruisers comparable to mid-tier collective ships. The numbers hit like physical blows. 47 ships. The collective had monitored Earth orbit, seen construction, noted 12 visible vessels. They'd thought that was everything. You hid them. We distributed them, Elena corrected. Moon's far side is invisible from Earth. Mars has multiple orbital zones. Asteroid belt is vast. And you were watching Earth orbit because that's where Phoenix was, where we made sure you were looking. Telshar's skin shifted through uncontrolled colors. Shock, anger, something approaching admiration. Why hide this? Because we learned our history, Marcus said. 20th century Earth, 2 superpowers locked in what we called Cold War, both spying on each other, both pretending they didn't know, both building weapons in secret while negotiating in public. You think we're at war? No, Elena said, but we think you're careful, cautious. You gave trial membership, but you're watching, assessing if we're a threat. We decided if we're being assessed, we should show you what we want you to see, while preparing for contingencies you don't. That is, Telshar searched for words, paranoid. We prefer prepared, Maya said, voice carrying military edge. Ambassador, with respect, your people dumped a broken ship on our planet because you thought we were too primitive to matter. We fixed it. We proved you wrong. But that taught us a lesson: never assume good intentions. Always verify. There's more, Kwame added Peter quietly. You should know all of it. Cold settled in Telshar's chest. More, Elena pulled up displays, star charts showing collective territory. Dozens of systems, hundreds of planets, trade routes, and military deployments, all marked with precise notations: fleet strengths, patrol patterns, defensive capabilities. We've been monitoring you since 1947, Elena said. The year meant nothing to Telshar. I don't understand. And 78 years ago, a collective scout ship crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. Your people retrieved it quickly, but not before we found it, not before we recovered wreckage, including sensor technology that we spent 5 decades reverse engineering. Marcus pulled up another display: primitive satellites from mid-20th century. During Cold War, we built surveillance systems to spy on each other, orbital reconnaissance signal intelligence networks. When we figured out your sensors, we redirected those systems, started listening to your communications, mapping ship movements, learning capabilities. 78 years, Elena continued. 3 generations of humans quietly collecting intelligence on Zathari Collective. By the time your ship crashed in Nevada, we already knew you existed. We knew roughly what your technology could do. We knew you'd been observing us through your own monitoring. Telshar couldn't speak. Her mind raced through implications, rewriting 3 years of assumptions. When we activated Arya, Kwame said, when we figured out quantum drives, when we made that first FTL jump, we knew you were watching. We knew you'd send someone to Kepler 442. We planned for you to offer trial membership because we'd studied your first contact protocols for 40 years. Every mission we've done, Maya added. Every problem solved, every world helped. We were testing you, learning your systems, integrating into your infrastructure, proving we were valuable so you'd give us more access. Elena leaned forward. We weren't trying to join your civilization, Ambassador. We were trying to understand it, know its weaknesses, prepare for the possibility you might decide humanity was a threat to be eliminated. We would never. You dumped a broken ship on our planet, Marcus said quietly. You wrote we were too primitive to matter. You didn't see us as potential allies. You saw us as convenient dumping grounds. What happens when inconvenient species develop unexpected technology? When primitives become peers, history says nothing good. Long silence. What do you want? Telshar asked finally. Same thing we wanted 3 years ago, Elena said. Partnership, cooperation, a place in galactic community, but on equal terms, not as clients or subordinates. And with insurance policy of 47 warships and 78 years of intelligence on collective capabilities. You could destroy our mining operations, disrupt trade routes. You've mapped our defensive weaknesses. Yes, Elena agreed. We could, but we won't, because we don't want war. We want what we've always wanted: to fix broken things, to solve problems, to be useful. But we'll do it knowing we can defend ourselves if necessary. Telshar looked at them. 4 humans sitting calmly, having just admitted to 78 years of espionage and 3 years of systematic deception. She realized something obvious in hindsight. They'd never been students. The collective had never been teaching them. From the moment that ship crashed, maybe from that first scout vessel in 1947, humanity had been learning on its own terms, studying, preparing, waiting for the right moment to reveal what they'd become. The Council will need to know this. We assumed, Elena replied. That's why we're telling you. We want honest partnership. That requires honesty even when uncomfortable. Telshar considered her options. 300 years of experience in unprecedented situation. I will report to Council. I will recommend your trial membership be made permanent. And I will suggest the collective never ever underestimate humanity again. That's all we ask, Elena said. The Council's response came within a week. Emergency session. Full review of human capabilities. Telshar presented findings to assembled collective leadership showing intelligence hidden shipyards, 78 years of preparation. Reactions range from outrage to fear to surprisingly respect. They've been playing us, Council member Jarek said, translator, rendering anger clearly, pretending to be grateful clients while building military force in secret. They've been prudent, Valthras countered. She was Council member Zathari, 500 years old, elegant with near-luminescent silver skin. We discarded refuse on their planet and forgot about them. They turned refuse into capability and prepared for possibility we might see them as threats. Given our behavior, can we blame them? Debate raged for hours. Finally, the chair called for order. The situation is unprecedented, but so is our current crisis. The Cray expansion has accelerated. We're losing ground along Outer Rim. Our conventional strategies fail because Cray adapt to everything we do. We need new approaches, unconventional solutions. She looked at Telshar. You've observed humans most closely. Can they help us? Telshar thought about 5 years watching humans take impossible problems and solve them through refusal to accept failure. Yes, if we're willing to trust them, and if we're willing to admit we need help. The vote was narrow, but it passed. Humanity would be asked to assist with Cray crisis. In exchange, trial membership converted to full partnership. Telshar carried the message herself, returning to Earth Station Prime. The Council has a request, she said to Elena and team. We're at war with a species called Cray. Hive mind intelligence, rapid reproduction, aggressive expansion. They're winning because they adapt to our tactics faster than we can innovate. We need help. What kind of help? Marcus asked. Military assistance, strategic thinking, the unconventional approaches humans seem to specialize in. Elena exchanged glances with her team. Another silent conversation. We'll help. 2 conditions. First, full membership and collective, not trial status. Second, we do this our way. You give us broken pieces, old ships, decommissioned fleet you don't know what to do with, and we'll build you an armada that can win. The collective has thousands of vessels. And you're losing, Elena interrupted gently, because your vessels are all the same, built to standard specifications, predictable. Cray know what to expect because you always do the same thing. We'll give you unpredictability, chaos, the tactical diversity hive minds can't prepare for. Telshar carried the proposal back. Council agreed within a day. Desperation was powerful motivator. 6 months later, Telshar stood on an observation deck of collective carrier, watching human fleet assemble. 73 ships. Not sleek, elegant vessels the collective built, but chaotic mix of salvaged hulls and human modifications. Each one different, each unique. Old Vroth cargo haulers stripped and rebuilt as heavy brawlers, slow but tough, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. Thule scout ships became fast attack craft, quick and maneuverable, equipped with human-designed missiles. Ancient warships from conflicts fought centuries ago, resurrected and transformed into hybrid monsters, combining best of multiple technologies. Marcus had led the effort, coordinating teams across human space. Shipyards on Earth, Moon, Mars worked around the clock. Somehow impossibly, they'd done it. 73 ships ready for war. Maya Torres stood on bridge of flagship, a rebuilt Vroth battleship named Indomitable. 41 now an admiral by rank, but she still insisted on piloting personally. The neural interface had become second skin. Telshar had embedded with human fleet as official observer. Council wanted detailed reports on military capabilities. They also wanted witness to either triumph or failure. Briefing took place in Indomitable's conference room. Maya at table head, flanked by human commanders. Telshar to one side, recording everything. Cray have massed 200 ships in Sector 7, Maya said, pulling up tactical displays. Preparing to push through to inner systems. Collective forces falling back. Our mission buy time for civilian evacuation. 200 against 73, someone said. Not great odds. Cray ships are smaller than ours, Kwame reported. He'd become primary intelligence analyst. Individually weaker, but they coordinate perfectly. Every ship knows instantly what every other ship is doing. They move like single organism. Then we make them react to 73 different organisms, Maya said. Every ship fights differently. Every captain makes own tactical decisions. No coordination, no patterns, no predictability. Pure chaos. One commander leaned forward. Admiral, with respect, that's not how fleet combat works. Coordinated action wins battles. Coordinated action wins battles against enemies who think like you, Maya replied. Cray don't think like us. They expect perfection. They expect patterns. We give them chaos and chaos wins. The plan distributed. Each ship received general objectives, but told to achieve them however captain saw fit. No formation flying, no coordinated maneuvers, just individual ships doing what they did best. Insane by collective standards, perfectly human. The Battle of Sector 7 began at 0600 hours ship time. Telshar watched from Indomitable's bridge, recording everything. The Kree fleet was a wall of vessels perfectly coordinated, moving with precision only hive minds could achieve. The human fleet scattered. 73 ships broke formation and spread in seemingly random directions. Fast attack craft accelerated to incredible speeds, darting around Kree flanks. Heavy brawlers moved forward, shields glowing. Long-range bombardment platforms hung back, weapons charging. The Kree fleet hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, the hive mind pausing, trying to process tactical situation that made no sense. Then humans struck. Fast attack craft launched missiles from 12 different angles. Each missile followed different flight path, spiraling, jinking, flying straight. Kree's automated defenses struggled to track them all. Explosions blossomed across 3 Kree vessels. Heavy brawlers hit necks, crashing into Kree formation like battering rams. These were old cargo haulers rebuilt with human pragmatism. Not elegant, effective. Close-range weapons fire filled space with light. Shields collapsed under sustained bombardment. Hulls breached. Kree ships tried to fall back, regroup, but human vessels pursued with relentless aggression. Then the railgun spoke. Telshar had seen specifications, read technical documentation, but seeing them fire was different. Bombardment platforms converted mining vessels equipped with massive kinetic weapons, fired slugs of tungsten carbide, 2.3 tons each, accelerated to 31% of light speed. The math was simple, the effect devastating. First slug punched through a Kree ship, kept going, punched through a second and third, fourth, before dissipating energy in fifth target. 11 petajoules per impact, Kwame reported clinically. Kinetic energy weapons don't require sustained power draw. No beam bloom, no thermal signature, just mass and velocity. The Kree fleet tried to adapt. Ships repositioned, presenting smaller profiles, but human fleet shifted tactics immediately. Fast attack craft pulled back. Medium cruisers moved forward, filling gaps. Formation looked almost like net, with spaces deliberately left open. Kree, seeing weaknesses, moved to exploit them and fell into trap. As Kree ships entered gaps, they found themselves surrounded by crossfire from multiple angles. Every opening was kill zone, every gap carefully positioned death trap. Ancient Earth naval tactics updated for 3-dimensional space combat. 20 Kree ships died in first trap, 15 more in second. They're learning, Maya said, watching displays. Won't fall for it again. She was right. Kree pulled back, reforming at distance. They'd learned, adapted. All ships, Maya ordered. Pattern Echo 3, defensive sphere. Human fleet reorganized into loose sphere, heavy brawlers at center, faster ships orbiting. Defensive formation designed to weather assault while providing overlapping fire. Kree obliged with massive coordinated attack. Every ship fired simultaneously, wave of energy weapons, lighting space like second sun. Human shields held. Barely. Hull breaches on Indomitable, Marcus reported from engineering. He'd insisted on being aboard despite his age, now 61. Decks 7 and 8 exposed to vacuum. Shield generators down to 60%. Status on rest of fleet, Maya asked. We lost Quicksilver, Razor Dart, Phantom, and Wraith, Kwame said quietly, voice tight. 5 ships, heavy damage to 8 more. Telshar noted the losses. 5 ships already. More than she'd expected. Then we keep fighting, Maya said. All ships pattern Foxtrot 9. We're punching through their center. Heavy brawlers charged forward, weapons blazing. Rest of fleet followed, creating spearhead, driving straight into heart of Kree formation. It was brutal. Ships on both sides died in close-range fighting. But human vessels had advantage Kree couldn't match. When shields failed, crews rerouted power from life support. When weapons overheated, engineers jury-rigged cooling systems from spare parts. When hull breaches threatened destruction, damage control teams sealed gaps with whatever materials they had. Adaptability, improvisation. Refusal to accept anything was truly broken beyond repair. Telshar watched a human engineer visible through bridge viewport working in hard vacuum to manually seal breach. His suit was damaged, leaking air, but he kept working until plate was welded. He died 3 seconds after finishing. But the ship survived. The Kree fought with perfect coordination, but perfection was brittle. When human ship did something unexpected, ramming a Kree vessel using mining lasers as improvised weapons, the hive mind had to pause and recalculate. Every pause was opportunity. Hours passed. The battle raged through Sector 7, a dance of destruction and desperate survival. We've lost Valiant, Defiant, Resolute, and Intrepid, Kwame reported at the 4-hour mark. 9 ships total, 12 more with critical damage. Commander, we can't sustain this much longer. Maya's jaw was tight. How many Kree left? 134. We've destroyed 66. The math was brutal. Humans had lost 9 ships, damaged 12. Cray had lost 66, but still outnumbered humans nearly 2-1. We need to break their formation, Maya said. Force them to scatter. Kwame, target their command nodes. The ships coordinating the swarm. Hive minds don't have command nodes. They have communication hubs. Find them. It took Kwame 17 minutes of analysis, watching data patterns, tracking communication bursts between Cray vessels. There, he said finally, these 12 ships are handling primary coordination. They're distributing tactical updates to the rest. All railgun platforms, Maya ordered. Target those 12 ships. Full salvo. Fire on my mark. The bombardment platforms, 7 of them still operational, lined their massive weapons. Tungsten carbide slugs loaded. Acceleration coils charging. Fire. 7 railguns spoke as one. 14 slugs, 2 per platform, crossed the battle space at relativistic speeds. 11 of the 12 Cray coordination vessels disappeared in expanding clouds of superheated debris. The 12th survived, but heavily damaged, spinning away from the formation. The Cray fleet stuttered. For 5 seconds, the perfect coordination faltered. Ships hesitated, movements becoming jerky, uncertain. The hive mind was reorganizing, establishing new communication pathways, adapting. 5 seconds. All ships full assault, Maya shouted. Hit them now. The human fleet surged forward, every weapon firing, every ship pushing engines to maximum. They crashed into the Cray formation during those 5 seconds of confusion. It was chaos, pure, undiluted chaos. And against a hive mind expecting order, chaos was devastating. By the time the Cray re-established coordination, they'd lost another 23 ships. The human assault had been perfectly timed, perfectly executed. Telshar watched her display's skin shifting through colors rapidly. This was unlike any battle she'd witnessed in 300 years. No grand strategies, no elegant maneuvers, just brutal pragmatic violence applied with surgical precision at exact moment of enemy vulnerability. Cray fleet is retreating, Kwame said, disbelief evident. They're pulling back to their home territory. Maya slumped in her chair, exhausted. Confirm that. Confirmed. Collective command reports they've never seen Cray retreat before. Ever. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then someone started cheering. Others joined. Soon the entire bridge crew was celebrating, exhausted and battered, but victorious. Telshar checked final casualty reports. 28 human ships destroyed. Another 17 so badly damaged they required immediate evacuation. The Cray had lost 130 vessels and retreated with 70 limping away. 28 ships, not the 18 she'd originally calculated. The battle had been far costlier than expected, but they had won. Maya stood slowly, her uniform stained with sweat and blood from a cut on her forehead she hadn't noticed. Status of survivors. Indomitable is holding together barely, Marcus reported. We've got hull breaches on 15 decks, power fluctuating, but we can make it back to base. Casualties. Kwame's voice was quiet. 473 dead across all ships. Another 800 wounded, 200 critically. The celebration died. 473. Each one a person. A human who'd volunteered for this, who'd believed in the mission. Prepare casualty reports, Maya said softly. Full honors for all fallen, and send message to Cray fleet. Tell them we're willing to negotiate peace. Telshar stepped forward, her silver skin having settled into respectful gray. How did you do it? Your tactics should not have worked. Your fleet was outnumbered. Your ships were old. Maya smiled tiredly. We won because our ships were old, because they were all different, because Cray couldn't predict what we'd do next. You've been fighting them with perfect coordination and superior technology. We fought them with chaos and improvisation. And against hive mind that expects perfection, Case wins. She paused, looking out the viewport at damaged ships and debris fields. But it cost us. It always costs us. The aftermath brought changes that reshaped the collective. Cray contacted humans directly 2 months after battle. Their delegation arrived at Earth Station Prime in vessels that looked more grown than built, organic shapes disturbing to the eye. Cray themselves were insectoid, multiple limbs and eyes glowing with internal light. They spoke through translation devices, words carrying weight of consciousness spread across billions of bodies. We wish to learn, they said, how individuals achieve what we cannot. Elena Rivera, now 58, and formally recognized as Earth's ambassador to Collective, met them in conference room, where she'd revealed humanity's secrets to Telshar. You want to know how we beat you? We wish to understand how chaos can defeat order, how improvisation can overcome perfection. We are hive mind, we think as one. Yet you who argue and disagree and fragment accomplished what we could not. Elena thought about that. Years of human history, conflict and cooperation, individuals choosing to work together despite differences. We argue, we disagree, we come from different nations, cultures, ways of thinking. That's not our weakness. It's our strength, because when we work together despite differences, we bring different perspectives, different solutions, different approaches. Your diversity is your weapon. Our diversity is our tool, Elena corrected. Chaos has value, but so does coordination. We learned to balance both. Peace treaty was signed 3 weeks later. Cray agreed to halt expansion. In exchange, they requested human advisors to study individual consciousness and diverse thinking. Collective Council made humanity's membership permanent. No trial period, no probation, full partnership with all rights and responsibilities. Telshar began her final report 6 months later. 10 years had passed since broken ship crashed in Nevada desert. 10 years since she'd recommended dumping collective refuse on primitive planet, thinking it would be safely forgotten. She wrote about 78 years of preparation, hidden shipyards, systematic intelligence gathering. She wrote about Battle of Sector 7, about human tactics defeating enemy collective couldn't match. But mostly she wrote about being wrong. I recommended Earth as disposal site because I believed humans were too primitive to matter. I was catastrophically incorrect. They were not primitive. They were simply at different development stage. And they approached that development with mindset the collective has lost over millennia of technological advancement. They do not expect perfection. They expect failure and prepare for it. They build redundant systems. They improvise solutions. They adapt faster than any species I have observed in 300 years of service. We called them primitive. We dumped our failure on their planet. And they proved that sometimes greatest danger is not advanced technology or superior numbers. Greatest danger is underestimating those who have nothing to prove and everything to gain. As she ended the report with recommendation, humanity should be granted permanent membership with full voting rights on council. Furthermore, I recommend establishing formal exchange program. Human engineers embedded with collective research teams. Human tactical advisors integrated with our military. Human perspectives applied to our oldest, most intractable problems. They fixed our broken ship. Perhaps they can fix what else we've broken along the way. World Council approved every recommendation. Telshar stood in observation bay of Earth Station Prime, looking down at planet that had changed everything. 10 years. Forever, and no time at all. Door opened behind her. She recognized the footsteps. Ambassador Marcus Kane said, voice carrying weight of years and satisfaction of impossible tasks completed. 63 now, officially retired from active engineering, but still consulting on projects across human space. Thought I'd find you here. Just observing. It's what I do best. Marcus came to stand beside her, leaning on Kane. Kwame wanted me to tell you we've got another visitor. Unknown species ship in distress, requesting help. Valkyrie, Telshar said. She'd seen intelligence reports. Species from far side of collective space technology failing no one to help them. They've traveled far. They heard humans fix broken things. Word gets around. Will you help them? Marcus smiled. What do you think Telshar thought about 10 years watching humans take impossible problems and solve them through refusal to accept failure? I think you will, because that's what humans do. You finally figured us out. Only took a decade. I learned something else. From watching your species. From seeing how you approach the impossible. What's that? That being broken is not the end. It's an opportunity. She turned to face him. I came here thinking I knew everything about first contact. 300 years of experience, 47 successful scenarios. And you proved all that experience had made me blind. You weren't blind, Marcus said gently. You were looking at us the wrong way. You saw primitive technology and assumed primitive thinking. But intelligence isn't about tools. It's about how you use them. When did you know that you'd surpass us? Marcus thought about that. 1947. When your scout ship crashed at Roswell and we learned you weren't gods, just people from somewhere else, people who made mistakes, people whose technology could fail. That was 78 years ago. We've been preparing a long time, learning, watching, getting ready for the day you'd notice us, because we knew it would come eventually and we wanted to be ready. You were more than ready. You were decades ahead of where you should have been. That's because we had motivation, Marcus replied. You called us primitive. You dumped your trash on our planet. You gave us something to prove. He smiled. Underestimation is a gift. It lets you work in peace while everyone ignores you. They stood in silence, watching Earth turn below. What happens now? Telshar asked. Now we keep fixing things, helping Valkyrie, working with collective, solving problems. That's what we're good at. That's what we're... In the 47 hidden warships. Still there, still ready, just in case. Marcus's expression was serious. We want peace, Ambassador. We want cooperation. But we learned our lesson from history. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. A very human philosophy. It's kept us alive this long. Telshar's communication device chimed. Message from Council. She read it and allowed herself what might have been Zathari equivalent of smile. They want me to remain assigned to Earth. Permanent posting. Primary liaison between humanity and collective. How do you feel about that? Telshar looked down at Earth, at planet that had changed her understanding of intelligence and capability and dangers of assumption. I feel I have much to learn, and there's no better place to learn it. Door opened again. Elena entered accompanied by a Valkyrie delegation. They were tall, six-limbed, covered in crystalline scales that refracted light in complex patterns. Their leader stepped forward and speaking through translation device. We are the Valkyrie. We have traveled far seeking help. Our ships are failing. Our technology is old. We were told that if anyone could help us, it would be humans. Marcus straightened, leaning less on Kane. The engineer in him never truly retired. We're really good at fixing things. Let's take a look at your ships. As they walked toward docking bay, Telshar stayed behind for a moment, looking down at Earth. 10 years ago, she'd written reports saying this planet was harmless. Zero risk of reverse engineering. Local species lacks technological sophistication. She'd been wrong about everything, but being wrong had taught her something valuable. Greatest threats often came from most unexpected places. Most profound changes started with smallest assumptions, and sometimes species you dismissed as primitive turned out to be ones who would change the galaxy. She pulled up personal log and added final entry. The collective dumped broken ship on Earth because we thought humans were too primitive to understand it. They fixed it. They improved it. They used it to prove we were wrong about everything. But more than that, they taught us a lesson we desperately needed. That being broken is not the end. That failure is not permanent. That with enough determination and creativity and refusal to accept defeat, anything can be fixed. They were never primitive, we were simply blind. And perhaps that was their greatest gift. Not the technology they developed or battles they won, but reminder that most dangerous thing any civilization can do is stop questioning its assumptions. She paused, then added one more line. Personal note. In reviewing classified collective archives for this assignment, I discovered something troubling. The 1947 Roswell incident was not an accident. It was a deliberate test of human response capabilities ordered by the Council as part of their pre-contact assessment protocols. The crash in Nevada 10 years ago, however, was genuine disposal. We had no idea the earlier test had given humans 78 years of preparation time. The irony is profound. Our own test gave them the tools to provision us. We created our own greatest challenge. She closed the log and went to join others. There were broken things to fix. And Telshar was beginning to understand that for humans, that was not just profession. It was way of life. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant, and she suspected it would be quite the education for everyone involved. Elena caught up with her in corridor. Ambassador, a moment. They stepped into empty observation alcove. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful. I wanted to thank you, Elena said, for your honesty in reporting to Council, for recommending our membership. I know it was an easy decision. You earned it, Telshar replied, through capability and courage, and I must admit through cleverness. The 78 years of intelligence gathering that was impressive. Elena smiled slightly. We learned from the best. Your own monitoring protocols gave us the template, turning our own methods against us. Very human. Adaptation is survival. Elena's expression grew more serious. There's something I need to tell you about the Roswell crash. Telshar's skin shifted to attentive amber. What about it? We know it was a test. We've known for 40 years. We found classified collective transmissions in the wreckage. Your council was testing human response capabilities, seeing if we were worth monitoring for future contact. Telshar felt something cold settle in her chest. You knew all this time. Yes, and we never mentioned it because... Elena paused, choosing words carefully. Because it gave us advantage. You thought you were observing us naturally. We knew we were being observed and could control what you saw. The ultimate manipulation. The ultimate adaptation. Elena corrected gently. You tested us in 1947. We used that test to prepare for the day you'd test us again. When your ship crashed in Nevada, we were ready. Not because we were lucky, because we'd been preparing for 78 years. Does the council know you know? Not yet, but they will. I'm telling you now, so you can tell them. Honest partnership, remember. That requires honesty even about uncomfortable truths. Telshar thought about that, about layers of deception and counter-deception, about tests and preparations and species learning to outthink each other. You're right, she said finally. They need to know, and I think they'll respect you more for it. Or fear us more. Perhaps both. But fear and respect can be foundation for strong alliance if balanced correctly. Elena nodded. Then tell them. Tell them humans learned their lesson in 1947. Tell them we'll never forget that lesson. And tell them that makes us either your best allies or your worst enemies, and the choice of which is theirs. She walked away, leaving Telshar alone with Earth and her thoughts. 300 years of diplomatic experience, and she was still learning. The humans had one more lesson to teach, that the most dangerous species wasn't the one with best technology or biggest fleet. It was the one that learned from every encounter, that adapted to every challenge, that turned every test into opportunity. That was humanity, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Valkyrie ships were fixed. They departed Earth Station Prime with human-designed modifications that made their failing technology work better than it ever had. Telshar submitted her report on the latest success. The council read it with what she suspected was growing resignation. Humans had now solved technical problems on 27 different worlds. Their reputation as the collective's fixers was cemented. But it was the final paragraph of her report that made council pause. In the 10 years since Vessel 749 crashed on Earth, humanity has evolved from pre-contact species to essential collective member. They have proven capable of matching our technology, exceeding our engineering, and defeating enemies we could not. They have also proven capable of patience, long-term strategic planning, and calculated deception when they believe it necessary. The 1947 test taught them to prepare. The 2015 disposal taught them to excel. We created a species that views every challenge as opportunity and every setback as lesson. We meant to test them. Instead, we forged them. With a final assessment, humanity is not a threat to the collective. They are a mirror reflecting back what we have become and showing us what we could be again if we remembered how to embrace failure as opportunity rather than treating it as disaster. Recommendation: the next time we have a broken ship, a failing system, or an impossible problem, we should ask humans for help before we waste 17 years trying to fix it ourselves. Because that's what they do. They fix things. And in doing so, they've fixed us too. Council member Valthris read the report in her private chambers. She was 500 years old, had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, had negotiated treaties that reshaped the galaxy. And she laughed. Because somewhere in the vastness of space, a species that had been dismissed as primitive was teaching the galaxy's oldest civilization the most basic lesson of all: nothing is ever truly broken. You just have to be willing to try fixing it. She approved Telshar's recommendations and added one of her own. Future disposal protocols. Before designating any world as acceptable disposal site, conduct thorough assessment of local species' adaptive capabilities. Avoid assuming primitiveness equals incapability. Addendum. Perhaps we should stop disposing of broken things altogether and start fixing them instead. The humans have shown us how. Humans have shown. The document was filed in collective archives where it would be studied for generations. And on Earth, Marcus Kane stood in his workshop looking at a piece of Valkyrie technology the visiting delegation had given him as gift. It was broken naturally. He smiled and reached for his tools. Some things never changed, and maybe he thought that was exactly as it should be.